Hello and welcome to our weekly IG Live. We do this every Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern, that's noon Pacific. And we have a really exciting one for you. This time we're going to have Deedee Cummings on and Kayla, and they are going to be talking about something. I don't even know what it is. To be honest, this is going to be a surprise announcement. You're going to be the first ones to know. And we'll see what exactly it is they are going to be sharing with us. Some kind of big news. That's all I can tell you because I don't even know. So they'll be with us for a minute. In a minute, excuse me, they'll be on. And we'll see what the big announcement is. And I also, of course, in our hearts are all the people who have suffered from the recent tragedy, the families, and just to let you know that we are all thinking about everyone. And of course, it makes everything that we're doing here even more urgent, about children and changing the world for them so they can have a bright future. Hold on, I see Miss Deedee here. Hello, you look lovely.
Thank you.
Yes. Hold on, let me make sure I have my settings on here. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good.
I heard you just referencing Texas, and I'm so glad. I'm so grateful that we have somebody like you who's what's going on with my eyebrows? Who is very thoughtful and takes the time to acknowledge that this has been a tough week for everyone in the country, but definitely for the families who were affected by gun violence in an elementary school shooting, which still, as I say it out loud, I can't even believe it. So
Right.
thank you for acknowledging those families.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like I said, I think we don't want to pretend like it's business as usual, but at the same time, I feel like the work that you're doing and that's going on with Makeaway Media, I think is all part of what we can be doing to build a better future for our children, and it really just makes our work even more urgent or more timely.
I agree completely. I also heard you say before I merged in, I think you might have said that we were waiting on them or something like that. I didn't mean to imply that my daughter, Kayla Pecchioni, was going to be on
Oh,
the
okay.
Instagram. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure people knew that we had news about her.
Oh, good.
So
Okay.
that would have been on me if that was misleading and made it seem like she was actually going to be joining us today. I did try to get her to join us, but she's in rehearsals right now. So I'll explain why. But were you in the middle of anything else? I don't want to jump in.
No, that was it.
So we have great news, and this is what if anybody watched last week, what I got distracted by, I was late calling in, and I just got Denise from our office was here, and she saw how everything happened, and I got totally discombobulated, and I couldn't think straight, and I joined the Makeaway Media Live. I couldn't figure out how to get on, and there was just a lot of stuff going on at one time. Of course, I was coming off vacation too, so I hadn't been on live in a while. But the reason why that time period was so hectic is because right before I joined the live last week, minutes before I joined the live last week, I learned that Kayla is going to be performing at the Tony Awards.
You're kidding.
No, which is, if you watch the Grammys, if you watch the Oscars, if you watch the Emmys, the Tonys is one of those events, and it's a huge deal. And the reason why I was so, I couldn't focus, I couldn't concentrate is not only because she'll be performing at the Tonys, but because it was kind of like my life was flashing before my eyes. You know how when people sometimes they say their life flashes before their eyes. My life was flashing before my eyes because it was it was like a waterfall of news and then a waterfall of emotions. Because thank you, I appreciate you saying you're so excited. We are too. It was like a waterfall of emotions because I just was picturing all of these things in life, all these images um, of her working so hard and going to school and making friends and losing friends and having heartbreak and going to college and moving to New York. And it just was like a culmination of everything that, you know, not just her, but our entire family has worked for. So it was, I couldn't think, I don't have that problem a lot. I'm a pretty good presenter, but I couldn't think straight. I just couldn't focus. And then at the same time, the reason I was kind of looking away a little bit was because I was told that the Tony tickets go very quickly. And so I wanted to make sure that I saw how many Tony's tickets were available so that as soon as I got live, I could get the Tony's tickets, because I never really even thought I would be going to the Tonys. But when I found out that she was going to be performing, I mean, I have to see it. I have to. So
were you able to get tickets?
yes, we got tickets.
Yay.
So, and my husband and Kayla's little brother, Kayla has two little brothers, but her little brother, Nick, will all be going to see her perform at the Tonys. And so that's the big news. We couldn't really release it last week because it hadn't completely been finalized yet.
And when is that?
Sunday, June 12th. Thank you for asking that, because I said I'm a presenter, but I'm kind of rambling on a little bit because this is all still kind of just, it's very unreal. It's very, I know I sometimes say surreal, but it's just, there's no word to describe it really. To watch this child, and that's what the whole Kayla series is about, is watching a child follow her dream, even though other people think it's not maybe the smartest route or the safest route. Right. Or, you know, just that there's a safer route for her to take out there where she'll be able to live a more, I don't know, happy or more productive life. I'm not really sure what the word is, but I know a lot of parents often want their children to take the safe route. I mean, we want our children to soar, but it's scary to watch our children soar. So a lot of parents do want their children to take the safe route. They want them to be able to pay their bills. You know, they want them to not have major heartbreaks, which when you soar, you can have a major heartbreak because our heart hurts when their heart hurts. So sometimes we're protecting ourselves too. But this is all that the Kayla series is about somebody, an ordinary person doing extraordinary things and following a dream that's huge. So to watch all of this happen throughout her entire life, and then to watch her end up actually performing at the Tonys, it's a very unreal experience.
And at her age, I mean, she's so young to be doing that.
Yeah, only in her 20s, and
wow.
I mean, she just knew what she wanted to do, is the only way I can explain it, and she worked hard. Yeah, I like Kayla McDaniel. Thank you. She comments, unprecedented, because I selected a word for the year, which I never do. And, you know, Becky from, she used to be with Multicultural Book Day. She encouraged me, I think last year she encouraged me to pick a word, and I just thought it was kind of corny, honestly. And then this year she encouraged me again to pick a word for a blog that I was writing. And so I picked the word unprecedented, because that word, I heard somebody else say that word and it stuck in the back of my mind.
Right.
And I just kept thinking about the word unprecedented. And then I picked that for my word of 2022, my first time picking a word, and I picked unprecedented. And it's not even June yet. It's not even half 2022. And it has been an unprecedented year in many, many ways. And so you kind of have to wonder, like, that word, it's set an intention for me, really for people around me that I work with too, for the year. It's been an unprecedented time already. It's crazy.
I just wanted to go back a little bit to something you said about how we, as parents, and I know a lot of your audience are people with young kids, because a lot of your books are for younger children. don't you think that a lot of it, when we're trying to kind of bring our kids' dreams down to size, like when they say they want to do something, and we're always like, well, chances are, wouldn't you rather do this? Or
Yeah.
I think, I mean, like you said, a lot of it is we're trying to protect them. Maybe we're trying to protect ourselves a little bit because it
Yeah.
hurts when they hurt. Don't you
Yeah.
think some of it is also that we've been disappointed, that a lot of us didn't chase our dreams, or somebody discouraged us early on, and so that's why we think it can't happen, is because we didn't do it, and so
Yes.
we just can't imagine. I mean, I don't know. Did you have those kinds of thoughts? What was it like for you when she was little and she said she wanted to do this? And did you ever imagine that it would actually, one, that she'd be on Broadway, but two, performing at the Tonys? I mean, what were your thoughts when she was young and she was telling you what she wanted to do?
Well, 100%, I do think that parents do that, and that we do it sometimes just as much to protect our own heart as we're trying to protect their heart. But it was there was a duality to um, me raising Kayla. There definitely was. I looked at her as her mother. Of course, every um, mother thinks their child is beautiful.
Right.
But her as her mother, and I thought she was just the most beautiful thing in the world, of course. And I want to show you this picture of her.
Mm.
She was little. That's
Oh,
me.
that's
And
a cute picture of both of you.
yeah, that's her when she was little.
Mm.
And so obviously, you know, she was outwardly beautiful, but she was always inwardly beautiful, and she was always talented, and she always worked hard. And so there was like a duality of emotions, to answer your question.
Mhm.
I could see that she was special, but I also was actively working as a child protective service worker and a social worker in a world where people are often special and eaten alive, you know.
Right.
And
You've seen
so,
like the worst that can happen to people.
yeah, and so I knew she was special, and I knew that if she really wanted this, that she should go for it. But I was definitely guilty of saying, like you said, well, you know,
Mm-hmm.
you said, like, if this doesn't work out, what will you do? Which could have put a little seed of doubt in her mind.
Right.
I often said, this happens for very few people. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
also, I forgot to add, another huge thing happened. I know that's crazy, talking about the Tonys and then talking about this, but also last week, she also got to perform the principal role on Broadway, um, at the Barrymore Theater in New York City. I mean, that also was a huge milestone, and it's because there is a standby. The standby was out for personal reasons. The principal, which that principal role is nominated for a Tony Award. The
Uh,
principal was out, and so she is like third in line for the crown.
yeah.
And so she had to go on. And I knew she was going to be fine because I've seen how hard she works. I know her.
Mm-hmm.
But, it's like when your child flies very close to the sun, you fly with them. I mean, you might be on the ground watching them, but even as I'm talking to you about this, I'm having trouble breathing because I can
Uh,
picture myself, like I picture her soaring by the sun, and I picture not even me. I'm not flying with her. My heart is coming out of my body and
mm.
flying with her. And I imagine that that's how it'll feel when I see her. Uh, I'm sorry, I'm getting upset.
Oh, don't apologize.
I imagine that's how it'll be when I see her at the Tonys.
Mm-hmm.
It is I can't believe it.
Yeah.
It's crazy to watch a child grow and achieve something like that. And people sometimes make comments like, their child is just graduating from high school or just graduating from college, or like their journey is not worthy of posting on Instagram or Facebook, or it's, you know, not that special compared to ours. Or we always seem to have some good news to share, and then they'll make a self-deprecating comment about
Right.
themselves or their family or their children, like, well, I know it's nothing like going to the Tonys. And I just really want everyone to know that, like, it is special that Kayla's going to the Tonys, but whatever people contribute in life, and I really mean this, whatever people contribute in life is special. I mean, it's your calling. It's what you're supposed to do. The only
Right.
crime is you don't follow your dream. That's the only crime. But everything that children do is special. So I don't want to make anybody feel like our journey is Instagram worthy. I can't stand when people say stuff like that's very Instagram worthy. A
Mm.
child graduating from high school is Instagram worthy
Yeah.
because it is special, as we see, unfortunately, from what happened in Texas this week. I mean,
Right.
that is a momentous occasion for a child to be able to achieve that, and it should be celebrated. So it's not that our journey is better or elevated in any way from anyone else's, but I do recognize that this is a very special journey, and I feel very, very blessed to be able to watch it so closely.
Yeah. I love that you said that you know, we don't need to compare ourselves to anybody else, or
Yeah.
like you said, think that what's happening with you, you know, every child is on their own path and their own journey, and your relationship with your child is unique to the two of you. So I
Mm-hmm.
love that you mentioned that. But
Yeah,
wow, this is really extraordinary. So,
it
you
is.
know,
It's extraordinary, and we're so excited. And you can see now why, if you go back and you watch the replay from last week, you'll see, like,
yes.
Leanna, you did such a good job of, like, into my office, and she said Leanne is trying to talk about stuff, and I couldn't figure out how to get on the. I mean, so it'll explain now, like, why I was so, like, scatterbrained and pulled in all these different directions,
That
and
must have been so hard not to say anything about it. Because I could tell you were just like bursting but to talk about it, but you did you didn't.
I was
That's
I
pretty
was
hard to do.
I mean, minutes before we were supposed to go on the live, Kayla called me, and Denise's office is just like down the hall. It's not very far from mine at all. I mean, it
Mm-hmm.
actually you're on the other side of the wall, but it feels further down the hall because her door is further down the hall. But
Mm-hmm.
I think she said she was worried because I she could hear me saying, "You're kidding me. You're kidding me." And
So I didn't know if it was good or bad.
right. And so
Yeah.
I think maybe she thought like somebody had a car accident or something. And I was saying, you're kidding me, or whatever. And so Denise was like a little worried. She's like, what's going on? And I mean, I was bursting.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I just wanted to go stand outside and scream, my daughter's dancing at the time. Um, so yeah, it was hard to contain, and I'm glad we can talk about it now. I
Yeah.
haven't posted about it on social media, although I've wanted to, largely because there is so much sadness. And yesterday, I worked all day as a therapist, but yesterday I just found myself consumed with
Mm-hmm.
the craziness of our country and why we live in a country where these kinds of events continue to happen. Not events, incidents, crimes continue
Mm-hmm.
to. And so yesterday, even though I worked, I spent a lot of time. I guess sometimes we go to social media to see what the temperature is, like what are
Right.
people or what are people's responses. So I found myself just sharing all this stuff yesterday, which I
Mm-hmm.
try to be a positive person, and I try not to bring people down. And I'm not like a Eeyore that's always on social media, like, oh,
Right.
you know, find, like, even when something bad happens to me, I try to find like the positive side of it. And yesterday I just saw so much stuff about that crime that happened that I found myself just like moved by many of these posts, and I was just
Right.
sharing along. And then towards the end of the night, I realized I can't do this, can't be a part of this like hurricane that's
Right.
happening right now because people are feeling sad and feeling down. Um, and so I just want to remind everybody, you know, to stay hopeful, even when it feels like there's no reason to be hopeful or you don't feel like being hopeful.
Hmm.
Meditate very hard on hope. Look for hope because I really, really believe that when we look for things, we find them.
Mm.
If you look for hate, you'll find hate. If you look for negativity, you'll find negativity. If you look for hope and beauty, I believe you will find it. Not always, you'll still see ugliness, but because you have practiced looking for hope and beauty, you'll be a little bit better prepared to handle the ugliness when you see it.
Right. And what is the thing that I think Mr. Rogers is credited with saying is look for the helpers. And I think, like you said, I had to kind of take a break for myself because I kind of got caught up in the same thing just because I think there's this when you're going through something that's so traumatic,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm saying traumatic for us, even though we're at such a distance. I can't imagine for the people in that community, and of course for the families. But there's this need to reach out to other people and kind
Yes.
of be, I think in a way we're also isolated, that social media is kind of a way to do that. We're kind of grieving and we're being angry together and trying to work
Yeah.
through these emotions, but then you kind of have to take a break because it's too much. But I think one thing that I was hopeful about is that everybody seems to be on board. You know, we
Yes.
need to get our government on board, and that's something we can all do to which also kind of makes us feel like we're doing, you know, doing something, taking action would help,
Mm-hmm.
and we can encourage them to get the legislation passed. But it does seem like there's just such a groundswell of support for that kind of action, and so that to me was really hopeful because
Yeah.
I mean after this, well, I said that like 9.5 years ago after Sandy Hook that I thought there would be some change, but I think it's happened so many times that maybe this time we'll actually get some real change from it. So that kind of made me hopeful.
I'm very hopeful, and as I was saying, like I've been wanting to share the news about Kayla, but it just feels so like, you know, if I post now on social media,
Right.
like it just feels out of place. So
Right.
I am going to send out the K newsletter today, which I'm very excited about. The K Club is now 1,200 people strong, which
You're
actually,
kidding. Wow.
no, it's probably bigger than 1,200 people because really people only sign up with one email address because we get
Right.
questions all the time from people saying, I have 3 kids, I want to sign up. How do I sign up kids? Well, you just sign up one email
Right.
address and then
So
you can use
1,200 households maybe.
1,200
Or,
houses.
mhm.
Um, but so, you know, there's probably way more, well, not probably, there's definitely more kids in the K Club, 1,200. But there are 1,200 households. That's a good way to put it in the K Club. So I am going to announce this news in the K Club newsletter day because we only send the K Club newsletter out one time a month. You know, we don't want to, people get so much stuff. We don't want to bombard people with, and, you know, and I don't want it to feel like a sales pitch at all. So, but I am going to put something in the K Club about, you know, how you can talk to your children about this and how to have hope because so many people are. I saw a person I follow regularly on Twitter that I kind of talked to a little bit on Twitter, and he
Mhm.
said he was safe. And I think that's one of the worst things you can do. Not that I'm judging that person, I'm not, because we all deal with grief in our own way. But I think losing faith is not a great thing to do, although I understand it because I think when things like this happen, it's the result of evil and hate. And if you
Mhm.
lose faith, then you let evil and hate win. That's what evil and hate wants to do. They want to
Right.
tear you, cause you to lose hope and lose faith. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that in the K Club newsletter that'll go out today. And, um, and I'm going to announce the news about Kayla, and I don't know when I'll announce it on social media because I just think people aren't really ready to celebrate right now.
Right. Right. Although
So
I know it's kind of hard to know when to, because on the one hand, like you said, I think people aren't quite ready, but at the same time, um, it's nice to have some good news. Like there's
yeah.
only so much we can focus on the bad news. Sometimes we need to have some joy also.
And I do, going back to the Kayla series and the, it being inspired by my daughter Kayla. um, I do feel like the Kayla series brings joy. I hope it
Right.
brings joy. And I know, that I'm very actively, I might not talk about this every week. And I think next week I am talking about why Broadway is the topic next week.
Mhm.
Why? Because I think, and I do get that question sometimes, like, you're a
Yeah.
children's author. How does Broadway segue with
Right.
that? Where did Broadway come from? Because it is odd. A lot of times people want to get their children's book turned into like a movie or a Netflix series or something. So how did we get to Broadway? Well, first of all, we got to Broadway because I love Broadway. I
Mm.
always, and it's actually how Kayla ended up falling in love with Broadway, because we saw so much Broadway when she was little. She was very inspired by it. My nephew says, I have a nephew that's a musical too, and he says that he fell in love with musical theater because I took him to see Lion King, and
Uh,
Kayla love with musical theater because I took her to see Chicago. That was the first, I
mm,
think it was the first Broadway show she saw, and she said she knew from that point on what she wanted to do.
mm.
Talk about that next week, but one of the things I want to talk about is why it's so important for me to get this story to Broadway is because there's not a lot of Black joy on Broadway. We just see a lot of Black grief and Black trauma, and it seems like
Right.
only stories that really get produced and promoted are stories of Black people overcoming horrible things instead of
Right.
just life. We don't just get to see ourselves just enjoying life. It's always some trauma. And I'm
Right.
not stories aren't important. Yes, they're important, but that can't be the whole portfolio of our work, or of our life.
Right.
So I'm excited to talk about that next week, why Broadway, and explain to everyone why we're doing what we're doing.
Great. Well, thank you. It was so good to talk to you, and thank you for sharing the news and helping us have some joy this week in the midst of everything that's going on. So thank you for that.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And as always, I'm so glad to talk to you, and I'll talk
Yeah.
to you next week. I'm on vacation next week.
No, that one more week and then I'll be gone.
We'll talk all about Broadway next week.
All right. Good to
All
talk
right.
to you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thanks, buddy. Bye.